The skies above Earth churned with an otherworldly energy, a shimmering curtain of light that bathed the planet in an eerie glow. Dr. Elara Shenz stood transfixed at the window of the International Space Station, her dark eyes wide with wonder and trepidation. For weeks, the anomaly had grown, defying explanation and igniting fevered speculation across the globe. Elara, you need to see this. The urgent voice of her colleague, Dr. Marcus Reeves, crackled through the comm system. She tore herself away from the mesmerizing view and pushed off, gliding through the station's corridors with practiced ease. In the main observation hub, Marcus hovered before a bank of monitors, his salt and pepper hair floating in the zero-gravity environment. His usually calm demeanor was shattered, replaced by an expression of sheer disbelief. "What is it?" Elara asked, coming to a stop beside him. Marcus simply pointed at the central screen. "It's a ship, and it's massive." The image before them defied comprehension. Emerging from the shimmering anomaly was a vessel of impossible proportions. It dwarfed even the largest human spacecraft, its sleek, organic shape unlike anything in Earth's arsenal. "My God," Elara breathed. First contact. The next hours passed in a blur of frantic activity. As news of the alien arrival spread, Earth's governments scrambled to formulate a response. Military forces were placed on high alert, while scientists and linguists worked feverishly to establish communication. Elara found herself at the heart of it all, her expertise in xenobiology making her a crucial part of the first contact team. As she pored over the incoming data, a pattern began to emerge. "They're not invaders," she announced to the assembled group of experts and military personnel. "They're refugees." General Helena Voss, a stern woman with steely eyes, leaned forward, explained Dr. Elara brought up a series of images on the main display. Their ship shows signs of extensive damage. The energy readings were detecting. "It's not a weapon, it's a propulsion system pushed far beyond its limits. They're running from something." A heavy silence fell over the room as the implications sank in. Whatever could force such an advanced civilization to flee must be truly terrifying. Days later, Elara stood in a hastily constructed meeting facility, her heart pounding as she waited for her first face-to-face encounter with the aliens. The door slid open, and she'd found herself staring at a being that simultaneously fascinated and unnerved her. The alien stood nearly 7 feet tall, its body covered in iridescent scales that shifted color with each movement. 4 arms emerged from a torso that tapered to a serpentine lower body. But it was the eyes that captured Elara's attention, multifaceted orbs that seemed to take in everything at once. "Greetings, human," the alien spoke, its voice a melodious trill that resonated in Elara's mind rather than her ears. "I am Zarek, emissary of the Near-Ray. We come seeking sanctuary and alliance." Elara took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Welcome to Earth, Zarek. I'm Dr. Elara Shen. We have many questions for you." Over the following weeks, the story of the Near-Ray unfolded. They were a peaceful, highly advanced species whose home world had been destroyed by a relentless force they called the Void Eaters. These cosmic horrors consumed entire planets, assimilating all life and technology they encountered. "They are coming," Zarek warned, its scales darkening with fear. "We fled across galaxies, but they will not stop until all is devoured." The news sent shockwaves through Earth's population. Panic and paranoia gripped many, while others called for the aliens to be cast out. But as Elara worked closely with Zarek and the other Nile representatives, she became convinced that cooperation was their only hope for survival. "We need each other," she argued passionately before the United Nations Security Council. "The Nile have technology far beyond our own, but they've been decimated by this threat. We have the numbers and the resources they lack. Together, we might stand a chance." It was a hard sell. Centuries of science fiction had conditioned humanity to view alien arrivals with suspicion. But as more details of the Void Eaters emerged, the terrifying reality set in. This was not a threat that humanity could face alone. Slowly, painfully, an alliance began to form. The Niue shared their advanced technology, faster-than-light drives, energy shields, and weapons capable of destroying entire moons. In return, Earth offered its vast industrial capacity and the fierce determination of its people. Ilara found herself working day and night alongside Zarek, bridging the gap between their species. Despite their alien nature, she discovered a kindred spirit in the Niue emissary, a being driven by curiosity and a deep desire to protect its people. "Your world is beautiful," Zarek commented one evening as they stood on the roof of the research facility, gazing at the sunset. "So full of life and diversity. We will not let it fall to the Void Eaters." Ilara nodded, a lump forming in her throat. "We'll find a way to stop them. Together." But not everyone was convinced. As the weeks turned to months, a vocal minority began to protest the alien presence. Conspiracy theories spread like wildfire, claiming the Niue had fabricated the threat to infiltrate Earth. The situation came to a head when a group of extremists attacked a Niue settlement, resulting in casualties on both sides. Ilara watched in horror as footage of the violence played across news channels worldwide. "This is exactly what the Void Eaters want," Zarek said, its voice heavy with sorrow. "Division, chaos. It weakens us all." Ilara knew she had to act. With the support of General Voss, who had become a staunch ally, she organized a global broadcast. It was time for the truth to be revealed in its entirety. As cameras rolled, Ilara stood beside Zarek, facing an audience of billions. "People of Earth," she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. "I know you're afraid. The arrival of the Niue has changed everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. But I'm here to tell you that this change is our salvation." She gestured to the alien beside her. "The Niue are not our enemies. They are survivors, just like us. And the threat they warn us about is very real." With that, she nodded to a technician off-camera. The feed switched to a series of images and videos, the destruction of the Niue homeworld, the unstoppable advance of the Void Eaters across the galaxy. "This is what we face," Ilara continued, her voice cracking with emotion. "A force that consumes entire civilizations. But we have something they don't, each other. Human ingenuity combined with Niue technology. It's our only hope." Zarek stepped forward, its multifaceted eyes gleaming. "People of Earth, we do not ask for your trust blindly. We offer all we have, our knowledge, our technology, our very lives, in defense of your world and ours. Let us stand together against the darkness that comes." As the broadcast ended, Ilara and Zarek waited anxiously for the response. Would it be enough to unite humanity and the Niue against the coming storm? Hours passed, then days. Slowly, public opinion began to shift. The images of the Void Eaters' destruction were too horrifying to ignore. Protests gave way to rallies of support. Volunteers flooded recruitment centers, eager to join the United Defense Force. 1 month after the broadcast, Ilara stood on the launch pad of the newly constructed Harmony spaceport. Before her loomed a massive ship, a fusion of human and Niue design. It was the first of a fleet that would defend Earth and carry the fight to the stars. General Voss approached, her uniform crisp and her expression determined. "The Defiance is ready for her maiden voyage, Doctor. Are you prepared to make history?" Ilara nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. "As ready as I'll ever be." As she boarded the ship alongside a mixed crew of humans and Niue, Ilara caught sight of Zarek. The alien's scales shimmered with a pattern she had learned to recognize as hope. "Together," Zarek said simply. Ilara smiled, the fear in her heart tempered by determination. "Together," she agreed. The Defiance rose into the sky, carrying with it the hopes of 2 species united against an unimaginable threat. As Earth receded behind them, Ilara knew that whatever lay ahead, humanity had already achieved something miraculous. They had reached for the stars and found not only wonders but allies. The Void Eaters were coming, but Earth and the Nere would be readier continue. Certainly. I'll continue with part 2 of the story, maintaining the style and themes established in part 1. This section will focus on the preparation for war and the challenges of human-alien cooperation. Part 2, Forging Unity, approximately 2,000 words. The vastness of space stretched before the viewport of the Defiance, an endless canvas of stars punctuated by the sleek forms of the growing human Na'e fleet. Ilara Shen stood silently, her dark eyes scanning the assembled ships with a mixture of pride and trepidation. Each vessel represented countless hours of collaboration, a fusion of human determination and Na'e technology. Impressive, isn't it? General Helena Voss's voice broke through Ilara's reverie. The older woman joined her at the viewport, her weathered face etched with lines of constant worry. Ilara nodded. It's more than I ever thought possible. 6 months ago, we were alone in the universe. Now look at us. We've come a long way, Helena agreed, but we have so much further to go. As if to emphasize the point, a proximity alert chimed softly. A massive Na'e world ship glided into view, its organic curves dwarfing even the largest human vessels. Ilara felt a familiar tingle of awe at the sight. No matter how many times she saw them, the scale of Na'e engineering never failed to impress. Zarek's ship is hailing us, a young lieutenant announced from his station. They're ready to begin the next phase of integration. Helena straightened, her posture shifting from contemplative to commanding in an instant. Very well. Dr. Shen, shall we? The two women made their way to the Defiance's conference room, where a holographic representation of Zarek awaited them. The Na'e emissary's scales shimmered with a pattern that Ilara had come to recognize as excitement. Greetings, friends, Zarek's melodious voice filled the room. We have made significant progress in adapting our shielding technology to your vessels. However, we face a new challenge. Ilara leaned forward, curiosity piqued. What kind of challenge? Zarek's image rippled, displaying a complex series of equations and diagrams. The power requirements for sustained shield operation exceed the capacity of your current energy systems. We must find a way to boost your power generation significantly. Helena frowned, her tactical mind already racing. How long do we have? Based on our latest long-range scans, the Void Eaters will reach the outer edges of your solar system within 8 months. Zarek replied, its voice grave. A heavy silence fell over the room. 8 months to prepare for a threat that had consumed entire civilizations. It seemed an impossible task. Ilara took a deep breath, pushing down the wave of panic threatening to overwhelm her. We need to think outside the box. Zarek, you mentioned once that your people had experimented with harnessing energy from subspace rifts. Could we adapt that technology? The Na'e's scales shifted to a deep blue, their equivalent of a thoughtful frown. It is possible, but highly dangerous. A miscalculation could tear apart the fabric of space-time itself. At this point, Helena interjected, her voice hard. I'm not sure we have the luxury of playing it safe. Dr. Shen, assemble a team. I want our best minds working with the Nere on this subspace energy project. As the meeting concluded, Ilara felt the weight of responsibility settling even more heavily on her shoulders. She made her way to the science bay, where a mixed team of human and Na'e researchers was already hard at work. Dr. Raj Patel, a brilliant young physicist with a penchant for unorthodox theories, looked up as Ilara entered. Dr. Shen, you're just in time. We've been going over the Na'e data on subspace energy tapping, and I think we might have a breakthrough. Ilara raised an eyebrow. Already, that was fast. Raj grinned, his enthusiasm infectious. Well, it helps when your new alien friends have been working on the problem for centuries. But here's the thing, they've been approaching it from a purely technological standpoint. I think we need to combine their tech with some good old-fashioned human ingenuity. Over the next weeks, Ilara watched in amazement as the subspace energy project took shape. Human creativity and outside-the-box thinking meshed with Niue precision and advanced understanding of cosmic forces. It wasn't always a smooth process. Cultural misunderstandings and clashing scientific paradigms led to heated debates and occasional setbacks. One particularly tense moment came when a human researcher accidentally insulted a Niue scientist by suggesting their mathematical models were flawed. The Niue scales had flared an angry red, and for a moment, Ilara feared violence would erupt. Instead, after a tense explanation of the cultural significance of mathematical precision in Niue society, the two scientists had diving deep into the equations together, emerging hours later with a revolutionary new approach. As the project progressed, similar scenes played out across the fleet and back on Earth. The integration of two vastly different species was not without its challenges, but with each obstacle overcome, the alliance grew stronger. On the Defiance's observation deck, Ilara stood with Zarek, watching as a test vessel prepared to activate its new subspace energy tap for the first time. "Are you nervous?" she asked, noticing the rapid color shifts in Zarek's scales. The Niue emissary's multifaceted eyes turned to her. "Nervous? Yes, I believe that is the right word, but also hopeful. Your people continue to surprise me, Ilara. The way you approach problems, the risks you're willing to take, it's both terrifying and inspiring." Ilara smiled. "That's humanity in a nutshell, I suppose. We're too stubborn to give up, even when the odds seem impossible." Their conversation was interrupted by the crackle of the intercom. "Attention all personnel. Subspace energy tap test commencing in T-minus 60 seconds." As they watched, the test vessel's engines flared to life. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then suddenly, a shimmering field of energy enveloped the ship. Ilara held her breath, waiting for any sign of instability. Seconds ticked by, stretching into minutes. The energy field remained stable, pulsing with power that defied conventional physics. "It's working," Zarvik whispered, all evident in its voice. "By the cosmic weave, it's actually working." Cheers erupted throughout the Defiance as the test results came in. The subspace energy tap was generating power beyond their wildest expectations, more than enough to sustain the advanced shielding and weapon systems they would need to face the Void Eaters. In the weeks that followed, the fleet underwent a rapid transformation. Ships were retrofitted with the new power systems, their capabilities increasing exponentially. Training simulations became more intense as human and Niue crews learned to work in perfect synchronization. But even as hope grew, so did the sense of impending doom. Long-range scouts reported the first signs of Void Eater activity at the edges of the solar system. Strange, dark shapes that defied sensors, leaving destruction in their wake. On Earth, final preparations were underway. Vast underground shelters were constructed, stocked with supplies to sustain the population for years if necessary. The planet's surface bristled with defense systems, a mix of human ingenuity and Niue technology creating a formidable barrier against invasion. As the deadline approached, Ilara found herself once again standing before the United Nations, this time with Zarek by her side. The assembly hall was packed, with billions more watching the broadcast around the world. "People of Earth," Ilara began, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "The moment we have been preparing for is almost upon us. In 1 month, we will face a threat unlike any in human history. The Void Eaters come not just to conquer, but to consume, to erase everything that makes us who we are." She paused, looking out at the sea of faces before her. "But we do not face this threat alone. Standing beside us are the Niue, a people who have already lost so much to this enemy. Together, we have achieved what neither of us could have done alone. We have pushed the boundaries of science, forged new technologies, and created a fighting force that stands ready to defend not just Earth, but all sentient life." Zarek stepped forward, its scales shimmering with a pattern that conveyed both determination and unity. "To the people of Earth, we say this: Your courage and creativity have given us hope where once there was only despair. Whatever comes, know that the Neo stand with you, now and always." As the assembly hall erupted in applause, Ilara felt a surge of emotion. Fear, yes, she would be lying if she said she wasn't terrified of what was to come, but also pride, determination, and a fierce hope that burned brighter than any star. Later, as she prepared to return to the Defiance for what might be the last time, Ilara took a moment to look out over the Earth. The blue-green jewel hung in space, teeming with life and potential. Everything they were fighting for was there, not just humanity, but the very idea of a universe where different species could come together, could face impossible odds and emerge stronger. "We're ready," General Voss said, joining her at the viewport. "As ready as we'll ever be, at least." Ilara nodded, squaring her shoulders. "Then let's go make history." As the shuttle lifted off, carrying them back to the waiting fleet, Ilara's mind was already racing with plans and contingencies. The Void Eaters were coming, but humanity and the Neo would meet them head-on. Whatever the outcome, the universe would never be the same. The final battle for Earth, for the very future of sentient life, was about to begin. The vast emptiness of space beyond Neptune's orbit shimmered with an unnatural darkness. Ilara Shen stood rigid on the bridge of the Defiance, her eyes fixed on the main view screen. The Void Eaters had arrived. Multiple contacts detected, Lieutenant Carlos Rodriguez reported, his voice tense. "There, it's hard to describe, ma'am. The sensors can't get a clear read." General Helena Voss leaned forward, her weathered face set in grim determination. "Show me." The view screen flickered, zooming in on the approaching threat. Ilara felt her breath catch in her throat. The Void Eaters defied easy description, massive, writhing shapes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with an alien grace that belied their size, tendrils of darkness reaching out hungrily towards the assembled fleet. By the cosmic weave, Zalek's melodious voice trembled slightly. The Nihile emissary's scales had paled to an ashen grey. They're even larger than the swarm that destroyed our homeworld. Helena's jaw clenched. Size isn't everything. We've prepared for this. All ships, battle formation Delta. Activate subspace energy taps and bring shields to full power. As the fleet moved into position, Ilara marveled at the sight. Human and Nihile vessels maneuvered in perfect synchronization, their newly upgraded systems humming with power. The fruit of their cooperation was about to be put to the ultimate test. "Enemy vessels entering weapons range in 30 seconds, Carlos announced. Helena nodded. "All ships, prepare to fire on my mark. Remember your training. We hit them hard and fast, no hesitation." The seconds ticked by with agonizing slowness. Ilara's heart pounded in her chest, her mind racing through all the simulations and strategic planning that had led to this moment. Would it be enough? Mark. The void of space erupted in a dazzling display of destructive power. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes lanced out from the Allied fleet, striking the approaching Void Eaters. For a moment, hope surged through Ilara as she saw the attacks connect, tearing into the alien vessels. But the victory was short-lived. The damage seemed to close almost as quickly as it was inflicted, the Void Eaters' bodies rippling and reforming. Minimal effect on target, Carlos reported, frustration evident in his voice. "They're still coming." Helena's eyes narrowed. "Switch to pattern Epsilon. Concentrate fire on the lead vessel." The fleet adjusted, focusing its awesome firepower on a single point. This time, the effect was more pronounced. A gaping wound opened in the Void Eater's form, dark ichor spilling into space. A cheer went up on the bridge, quickly silenced as the wounded alien let out a psychic scream that tore through their minds. Ilara clutched her head, fighting against the wave of terror and despair that threatened to overwhelm her. "They're retaliating," Zarvik cried out. The Void Eaters surged forward, tendrils of darkness lashing out at the fleet. Where they touched, shields flared and buckled. Ilara watched in horror as a human cruiser, its defenses overwhelmed, was enveloped in darkness. In seconds, it was gone, consumed utterly. Evasive maneuvers, Helena barked. All ships, do not let them touch you. What followed was a deadly dance among the stars. The Allied fleet darted and weaved, unleashing salvo after salvo against the relentless advance of the Void Eaters. For every blow they landed, the aliens seemed to answer tenfold. On the Defiance's bridge, Ilara worked feverishly alongside the tactical team, analyzing the battle data in real time. "There's a pattern to their movements," she muttered, her eyes scanning the holographic display. "If we can predict where they'll strike next." Dr. Shen, Zarek interrupted, its multifaceted eyes wide. "Look at this energy reading. It's similar to the subspace tap, but inverted somehow." Ilara's mind raced. They're drawing power from subspace too, but in a way that's destroying the fabric of space-time. That's how they consume entire worlds. Helena joined them, her uniform singed from a near miss that had rocked the ship. "Can we use that information?" Before Ilara could answer, the ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared as emergency lights bathed the bridge in an eerie red glow. "Direct hit to our starboard section," Carlos reported. "Shields at 60% and falling. We can't take another hit like that." Helena's voice cut through the chaos. "All hands, prepare for emergency jump. Navigator, plot a course to the fallback position." As the crew scrambled to obey, Ilara felt a sinking feeling in her stomach. They had barely engaged the enemy, and already they were being forced to retreat. How could they hope to win against such a force? The Defiance's engines roared to life, tearing a hole in the fabric of space. As they prepared to jump, Ilara caught one last glimpse of the battle on the view screen. The Void Eaters were pressing their advantage, consuming ship after ship. In a flash of light, they were gone, emerging moments later in the relative safety of Mars' orbit. The rest of the surviving fleet appeared around them, a ragged and battered fraction of the force they had been mere hours ago. As damage reports flooded in, the grim reality of their situation became clear. Nearly a third of the fleet had been lost in that first engagement. The Void Eaters had taken losses too, but they seemed to replenish their numbers far more quickly. In the aftermath of the battle, an emergency council was convened aboard the Defiance. Leaders from Earth and the remaining Nearai gathered to assess their options. "We underestimated them," Helena admitted, her voice heavy with the weight of lives lost. "Our weapons are effective, but not enough to turn the tide quickly. At this rate, they'll reach Earth within days." Zarek's scales rippled with a pattern of deep sorrow. Perhaps we should not have brought this doom to your world. We could attempt to lure them away, to give Earth more time to prepare." Ilara shook her head vehemently. "No, we're in this together. Running won't solve anything. We need to find a way to hit them harder." Dr. Raj Patel, his usual enthusiasm tempered by the gravity of the situation, spoke up. "What if we could turn their own power against them? You said they're tapping into subspace energy, right? Maybe we could disrupt that somehow." A spark of hope ignited in Ilara's chest. "It's possible. We need to modify the subspace taps on our ships, create some kind of resonance that interferes with their energy draw." "How long would that take?" Helena asked, leaning forward intently. Ilara exchanged a glance with Zarek. "With both our teams working around the clock, maybe 48 hours. Helena's expression hardened. "You have 24. I'll muster every ship we can spare to hold the line, but I can't promise more time than that." As the council dispersed, a flurry of activity overtook the fleet. Every available scientist and engineer, human and Neoai alike, was put to work on the subspace resonator project. Ilara found herself in the thick of it, coordinating teams, solving seemingly impossible problems, and pushing the boundaries of theoretical physics. Time became a blur of calculations, simulations, and hurried modifications to their ships. Elara worked until her vision blurred, sustained by stimulants and the desperate knowledge that failure meant the end of everything. 23 hours into their deadline, as Elara was elbow-deep in the guts of a prototype resonator, an alarm blared through the ship. Her heart sank as Helena's voice came over the intercom. "All hands, battle stations. The Void Eaters have broken through our defensive line. They'll reach Mars within the hour." Raj looked up from his workstation, his face pale. "We're not ready. The resonators are only at 60% efficiency." Elara closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. When she opened them, there was steel in her gaze. "It'll have to be enough. We're out of time." As the crew of the Defiance scrambled to their posts, Elara made her way to the bridge. The view screen showed a terrifying sight. The Void Eaters surging towards Mars, their writhing forms blotting out the stars. Helena turned as Elara entered, her expression grim. "Please tell me you have something for us, Doctor." Elara nodded, trying to project more confidence than she felt. "We do, but it's untested. We'll need to get in close, too close, for it to work." A ghost of a smile touched Helena's lips. Close quarters combat against an overwhelming alien force. Sounds like a job for humanity's finest. "All ships, this is General Voss. Prepare to execute Operation Lightbringer. May whatever gods exist have mercy on our souls." As the remnants of the fleet moved into position, Elara felt a strange calm settle over her. They were about to attempt something that defied reason, that pushed against the very laws of physics. It was exactly the kind of insane, desperate gambit that humanity excelled at. Void Eaters entering range in 30 seconds, Carlos reported, his voice steady despite the circumstances. Helena's eyes met Elara's, an unspoken question passing between them. Elara gave a small nod. They were as ready as they'd ever be. "All ships," Helena commanded, her voice ringing with authority, "activate subspace resonators and prepare to engage. We hit them with everything we've got. For Earth, for the Nairai, for every sentient being in this galaxy, attack." The Defiance surged forward, leading the charge into the heart of the Void Eater swarm. As the resonators hummed to life, Elara watched the sensors with bated breath. Would their desperate gamble pay off, or had they just signed the death warrant for two civilizations? The fate of Earth, of the Nairai, of all life as they knew it, hung in the balance as the two forces clashed in the shadow of Mars. The void of space erupted in a cacophony of light and sound as the Allied fleet clashed with the Void Eaters. The Defiance shuddered under the strain, its newly installed subspace resonators humming with untested power. Elara clung to her station, her eyes fixed on the readouts streaming across her screen. "Resonator output at 85% and climbing," she reported, her voice tight with tension. "We're starting to see fluctuations in the Void Eater's energy signatures." General Helena Voss nodded grimly, her weathered face illuminated by the flashes of weapons fire visible through the view screen. "Good. Now we just need to survive long enough for it to make a difference." The ship rocked violently as a tendril of darkness lashed out, grazing their shields. Alarms blared as damage reports flooded in from all decks. "Shields at 40%. Lieutenant Carlos Rodriguez called out, his fingers dancing across his console as he worked to reroute power. "We can't take much more of this." Helena's jaw clenched. "We have to. All ships, press the attack. Don't let up for a second." Across the battlefield, human and Naiai vessels darted and weaved, their weapons blazing against the cosmic horrors that threatened to engulf them. The subspace resonators were having an effect. Where once the Void Eaters had seemed nearly invulnerable, now their shadowy forms rippled and distorted under the Allied assault. But the cost was high. Elara watched in horror as ship after ship winked out of existence, consumed by the ravenous tendrils of the enemy. Each loss was a blow, not just to their fighting strength, but to the hope of survival itself. "Zalek," Elara called out to the Nairai emissary, who was coordinating with their allies from a nearby console. "We need more power to the resonators. Can your ships push their outputs any higher? Zarek's scales shimmered with a pattern of determination tinged with fear. We're already at maximum safe levels. Pushing further could tear our ships apart. If we don't, we'll all be torn apart anyway, Helena interjected. Do it. As Zarek relayed the order, Elara felt a surge of guilt. How many more would die in this desperate gamble? But as she looked at the approaching wall of darkness that was the Void Eater swarm, she knew they had no choice. Suddenly, a new alarm blared through the bridge. Carlos' eyes widened as he read the incoming data. Massive energy spike detected. One of the Void Eaters is changing. All eyes turned to the main view screen. At the heart of the enemy formation, one of the largest Void Eaters was convulsing, its form twisting in ways that defied comprehension. As they watched, it seemed to implode, collapsing in on itself before exploding outward in a shockwave of dark energy. The Defiance bucked wildly as the wave hit them. For a moment, all systems went dark. Elara felt a moment of pure terror as the ship drifted powerless in the void. Then, with a whine of protesting machinery, emergency power kicked in. Status report. Helena barked, pulling herself back to her feet. Shields are down, weapons offline, Carlos reported, his voice shaky. But, ma'am, look at the Void Eaters. As the view screen flickered back to life, a collective gasp went up from the bridge crew. The massive Void Eater that had exploded was gone, leaving a gaping hole in the enemy formation. More importantly, the surrounding aliens seemed disoriented, their movements erratic and uncoordinated. The resonators, Elara breathed, her mind racing. They must have caused some kind of chain reaction in their energy network. We've disrupted their hive mind. Helena's eyes gleamed with fierce hope. This is our chance. All ships with functional weapons, concentrate fire on the disoriented targets. Let's show these cosmic horrors what happens when they mess with humanity and our allies. The battle surged anew, but this time the momentum had shifted. Allied ships started between the flailing tendrils of the Void Eaters, their weapons tearing into the vulnerable alien flesh. One by one, the massive entities began to fall, their deaths sending ripples of disruption through the rest of the swarm. On the Defiance, Elara worked feverishly alongside the engineering team to bring their systems back online. If we can get the resonators working again, she explained to Helena, we might be able to trigger more of these chain reactions. Do it, Helena nodded. We need to press our advantage while we have it. As the minutes ticked by, the tide of battle continued to turn. The once unstoppable Void Eater Armada was in disarray, their eldritch power turned against them by human ingenuity and Naya technology. Finally, with a surge of power that made the lights flicker, the Defiance's systems came fully back online. Elara's hands flew across her console, fine-tuning the resonator output to match the fluctuations they'd observed in the Void Eater's energy signatures. Resonators at full power, she announced, targeting the largest remaining cluster. Helena nodded grimly. Fire. A beam of coruscating energy lanced out from the Defiance, striking the heart of the Void Eater formation. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a string of cosmic dominoes, the aliens began to collapse in on themselves, each destruction triggering the next. A cheer went up from the bridge crew as they watched the enemy fleet disintegrate before their eyes. Elara felt a surge of elation, tempered by the knowledge of how close they had come to annihilation. As the last of the Void Eaters fell, an eerie calm settled over the battlefield. The surviving ships of the Allied fleet drifted amidst the debris of friend and foe alike, the enormity of what they had just accomplished slowly sinking in. Helena's voice, rough with emotion, broke the silence. All ships report in. I want damage assessments and casualty reports. And someone get me a secure line to Earth. They need to know we've won. As the bridge erupted into a flurry of activity, Elara found herself face to face with Zarek. The Nihile emissary's scales shimmered with a complex pattern of emotions. Joy, sorrow, relief, and something deeper that Elara couldn't quite interpret. We did it, she said softly, still hardly believing it herself. Zarek's multifaceted eyes seemed to shine with an inner light. Yes, we did. Your people's courage and creativity. It is unlike anything we have ever encountered. You've given us back our future. Ilara felt a lump form in her throat. We couldn't have done it without you. This victory belongs to both our peoples. As the reality of their triumph spread through the fleet, a new feeling began to take hold, not just relief or joy, but a sense of possibility. They had faced the ultimate threat and emerged victorious. What else might they accomplish together? In the days that followed, as the fleet limped back to Earth, the full scale of what had transpired began to sink in. The losses had been staggering. Nearly half of the Allied forces had been destroyed in the battle. But Earth was safe, and with it, the hope for a new future. As the Defiance settled into orbit around the blue marble of humanity's homeworld, Ilara stood once again at the viewport, Zarek by her side. Below them, the planet pulsed with life and potential. "What happens now?" she asked, her voice quiet. Zarek's scales rippled thoughtfully. "Now we rebuild. We learn. We explore. The Void Eaters were not the only threat in this vast universe, but together, I believe we can face whatever comes." Ilara nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips. "Together, I like the sound of that." As if in response to her words, a transmission came through from the surface. It was a live feed of celebrations erupting in cities around the globe. Humans and Nearai alike filled the streets, their joy and relief palpable even through the screen. "Look at them," Helena said, joining Ilara and Zarek at the viewport. "A few months ago, we were strangers. Now we are one people," Zarek finished, its voice resonating with emotion, bound by shared struggle and shared triumph. As they watched the celebrations unfold, Ilara felt a swell of pride and hope for the future. They had done more than just save Earth. They had opened the door to a new era of cooperation and discovery. The Void Eaters were defeated, but this was just the beginning. With two great civilizations united, with the boundaries of science and understanding pushed further than ever before, the true adventure was just beginning. As the Defiance began its descent towards Earth, Ilara knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them the same way they had faced the Void Eaters, together, with courage, creativity, and an unshakable determination to forge a better future for all sentient life. The stars beckoned, full of mystery and promise, and humanity, standing shoulder to shoulder with their Noirai allies, was ready to answer the call. A last part. Certainly, I'll conclude the story with part 5, focusing on the aftermath of the battle and the new era dawning for humanity and the Noirai. Part 5. A New Dawn, approximately 2,000 words. 1 year after the defeat of the Void Eaters, Earth was a planet transformed. The scars of battle still lingered, craters where stray attacks had breached the planetary defenses, memorials to those lost in the conflict, but they were overshadowed by the unprecedented era of growth and cooperation that had followed. Dr. Ilara Shen stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Unity Station, a massive orbital platform that served as a symbol of the alliance between humanity and the Noirai. Below her, the blue marble of Earth rotated slowly, while above, the stars beckoned with new promise. Quite a view, isn't it? The familiar voice of General Helena Voss, now Admiral Voss, broke through Ilara's reverie. Ilara turned, smiling at her old friend and comrade. "It never gets old. Sometimes I still can't believe we're here." Helena nodded, her weathered face etched with the wisdom of their shared struggles. "We came close to losing it all, but look at us now." Indeed, the changes of the past year had been nothing short of miraculous. The integration of Noirai technology had accelerated human development by decades, if not centuries. Clean energy, derived from refined subspace taps, had eliminated pollution and resource scarcity almost overnight. Medical breakthroughs, born from the merging of human and Noirai biology, promised to eradicate disease and extend lifespans significantly. But perhaps most remarkable was the cultural shift. The arrival of the Neo-A and the subsequent battle for survival had united humanity in a way never before seen. Old conflicts and prejudices faded in the face of a greater, shared identity as citizens of Earth and allies of the Neo-A. The first joint colonization mission leaves for Alpha Centauri next week, Ilara remarked, gesturing to a sleek ship visible through the station's windows. Did you ever imagine we'd come so far so quickly? Helena chuckled. After everything we've been through, I've learned not to underestimate what we can accomplish when we work together. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Zarek, the Neo-A emissary's scales shimmering with excitement. My friends, the council is assembling. It's time. Together, the three made their way to the heart of Unity Station, where representatives from Earth and the remaining Neo-A world ships had gathered. The chamber fell silent as they entered, all eyes turning to Ilara. Taking a deep breath, Ilara stepped up to the podium. Before her, the faces of humanity's leaders mingled with the alien visages of the Neo-A elders. A year ago, such a sight would have been unthinkable. Now, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Distinguished representatives, honored guests, Ilara began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. 1 year ago, we faced extinction. The Void Eaters threatened not just our worlds, but the very concept of life as we knew it. We stood on the brink of oblivion, and we prevailed. A murmur of agreement rippled through the assembly. But our victory was more than just survival. In coming together, in combining our strengths and overcoming our differences, we have given birth to something new, something greater than the sum of its parts. Ilara paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. The acceleration protocol that we are here to ratify today is more than just a set of guidelines for our future development. It is a roadmap to a future where the boundaries between our peoples continue to blur, where we face the challenges and wonders of the cosmos as one united force. On the screens around the chamber, images began to appear, schematics for advanced starships, plans for terraforming projects, designs for cities that merge the organic architecture of the Neo-A with the bold lines of human engineering. With the ratification of this protocol, we commit ourselves to a future of joint exploration and colonization. We pledge to share our knowledge, our resources, and our dreams. The stars await us, and together, there is no limit to what we can achieve. As Ilara concluded her speech, the chamber erupted in applause. Human and Neo-A alike rose to their feet, their enthusiasm palpable. The vote that followed was a mere formality. The acceleration protocol was ratified unanimously. In the weeks that followed, the effects of the new agreement became quickly apparent. Construction began on a fleet of exploration vessels, each one a marvel of hybrid technology. Research outposts sprang up across the solar system, dedicated to pushing the boundaries of science and understanding. But perhaps the most profound changes were happening on a smaller scale. In cities around the world, humans and Neo-A worked side by side, learning from each other, forming friendships and even families. Children born of both worlds were growing up with a perspective that spanned galaxies. 3 months after the ratification of the acceleration protocol, Ilara found herself back on the Defiance. The ship, once a weapon of war, had been recommissioned as the flagship of the new exploration fleet. Its mission, to make first contact with other civilizations and extend the hand of friendship on behalf of the United Earth Neo-A Alliance. As the ship prepared for its maiden voyage, Ilara stood on the bridge, a sense of déjà vu washing over her. But where once there had been tension and fear, now there was excitement and hope. All systems aggo, Lieutenant Carlos Rodriguez, now Commander Rodriguez, reported from his station. We're ready to make the jump to FTL when you give the word, Doctor. Ilara nodded, turning to where Zarek stood beside her. The Neo-A scales shimmered with a pattern she had come to recognize as eager anticipation. Are you ready for this? She asked, a smile playing on her lips. Zarek's multifaceted eyes seemed to twinkle. More than ready, my friend. The universe awaits. With a command from Elara, the Defiance's engines hummed to life. The stars on the view screen began to stretch into lines of light as the ship accelerated to faster-than-light speeds. They were embarking on a journey not just across space, but into a future bright with possibility. As Earth faded behind them, Elara reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them to this point. The arrival of the Niue, the terror of the Void Eaters, the desperate battle for survival, all of it had led to this moment. Humanity had not only survived, but thrived, reaching out to the stars with new friends by their side. The challenges ahead were many. There would be new threats to face, new mysteries to unravel, new ethical dilemmas to navigate as they encountered other forms of life. But Elara was confident that whatever the universe threw at them, they would face it together. In the years that followed, the United Earth-Niue Alliance flourished. Colonies were established on distant worlds, each one a testament to what could be achieved through cooperation. New civilizations were contacted, some wary at first, but many eager to join the growing interstellar community. The technology born from the fusion of human and Niue knowledge continued to advance at an astonishing pace. Faster-than-light travel became commonplace, opening up vast swaths of the galaxy for exploration. Energy production reached levels once thought impossible, allowing for feats of engineering on a cosmic scale. But perhaps the greatest achievement was the change in perspective. The children of Earth, whether human, Niue, or a blend of both, grew up looking at the stars not with fear of the unknown, but with a sense of wonder and belonging. They were citizens not just of a planet or a species, but of the galaxy itself. 50 years after the defeat of the Void Eaters, Elara stood once again on the observation deck of Unity Station. Her hair had gone grey, and lines of experience etched her face, but her eyes still shone with the same curiosity and determination that had driven her all those years ago. Beside her stood Zarek, the Niue's form slightly diminished with age, but still radiating wisdom and friendship. Together, they watched as a new class of cadets, human, Niue, and everything in between, boarded ships bound for the Academy on Mars. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" Elara asked, her voice soft with wonder. Zarek's veils shimmered with a complex pattern of emotion. "In my wildest dreams, perhaps, but dreams pale in comparison to the reality we have built together." As they stood there, a priority message flashed on the nearby console. Elara's eyes widened as she read it, then turned to Zarek with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "The long-range scouts have detected something," she said. "A signal from beyond the galaxy. It's like nothing we've ever encountered before." Zarek's multifaceted eyes seemed to glitter with renewed purpose. "Then it seems our greatest adventure is yet to come." As alarms began to sound and the station came alive with activity, Elara felt a familiar surge of adrenaline. The unknown was calling, just as it had all those years ago when the Niue first arrived. But this time, they were ready. Whatever lay beyond the edges of the known universe, they would face it as they had faced every challenge since that fateful day, together with courage, curiosity, and an unshakable bond forged in the fires of adversity and tempered by years of shared discovery. The next chapter of their cosmic journey was about to begin, and as Elara and Zarek moved to answer the call, they knew that the best was yet to come. The end, or perhaps just the beginning.